Tonight on Bogan Boogeymen.
Scared of hell?
Yes.
Then imagine living next to the neighbours from hell.
You told me you were gonna get me lawnmower back to me.
I don't know
It's been
where it
months now. You still haven't bloody done it. Where's me lawnmower,
I don't know where it is.
I asked you for it 3 months ago. You still haven't given me lawnmower.
Look, I said I was going to look for
Do
it.
you think you should take better care of things that aren't yours, mate?
No, because I...
But first, it's the biggest threat to your existence, Dole Bludgers, taking up an alleged 35% of the federal budget, which is the most verifiable fact of all time. Take a hike, Copernicus.
I thought history was gonna be more kind to me than this, baby.
The politician that looks more like an Italian-American mafia boss than actual Italian-American mafia bosses says
35%, that's the cut.
even though no country on the planet spends 35% of their budget on welfare. In fact, if you look at the budgetary figures, we not only spend pretty much half of what Joe Hockey suggests we do.
My kindy teacher misguided me. Numbers ain't my friends.
National Treasurer, we're the 25th lowest spender out of 30 OECD nations. Far from Hockey's comparisons of France and Sweden, we're actually a lot closer to Mexico, the nation leading the vanguard in proving that ending welfare dependency, it's not only good for the unemployed as it creates an imperative to work, it's also good for the community at large as it creates pigeon children, fun for the whole family.
Exactly. They need their payment, which is the third the wage of somebody just scraping over the poverty line to be halved again, to act as an incentive. And if they have to move to get a job, then that's just the way it is.
So saith the Liberal Party's cattle rancher of the poor.
Why do you have to paint our faces to look like cattle? 'Cause you reckon you're too good to move up to Darwin? Dangle a hunk of chicken from your fellas in order to lure crocs away from the nursing home up there, don't you? Yeah, ain't gonna cost me a lot of money to move up there for a part-time position. I don't care about your inconveniences, mate. I'm not spending 0.5% of my taxes to help you find a job you don't absolutely despise waking up to for the rest of your very short, in the grand scheme of things, cosmic miracle of a life, which if you believe in most religions, you only get one shot at. This is it. When right now, there's a job for you as a Moroccan food delivery man for crocs, and you only have to remember to bring one meal, chicken and nuts, and you're still not doing it. There's a word for what you are: selfish.
All 1.8 million people that are either unemployed or underemployed in this country, competing for an average 150,000 jobs on offer throughout the entire continent at any given time, leaving a minute 1.65 million people who numerically can't get a job to listen to the advice of Federal Minister for Employment, Colonel Klink, who believes he's discovered the long thought to be mythological antidote to this task, which is, cannot stress this enough, mathematically impossible. He believes they should, quote, try harder.
Yes, it's all available in our easy-to-download strategy guide, Bare Necessities. You already live a bare existence, now live a bare existence.
Step 1. For surviving 6 months of the year without cash. Forget about your worries and your strife. Step 2. Hibernate through the winter. An unfortunate compromise resulting from a welfare system that is unsustainable in its current form and not well targeted to those that really need our assistance. Where the unemployed, Oz Study, Ab Study and Youth Allowance combined cost the taxpayer $6 billion a year, which coincidentally is the exact same figure in new incentives and tax credits the very man who made that statement gave the corporate sector in his very first budget, forcing the main character from The Knowing, Joseph Kosler, to mumble, "It's all a coincidence. Shit just happens," until his eyes begin to wince as he looks up at the heavens and realizes
It is connected. There's a reason for everything after all.
when he discovers that Mr. Hockey, who relentlessly proclaims himself to be an advocate for a fair and comprehensive support system for those who are most vulnerable, conveniently continually forgetting to tackle the staggering cost of welfare when it comes to corporate welfare, where Mr. Hockey's only action in Parliament that even relates to the shocking cost of corporate handouts is to water down measures introduced by the previous government in a country that is internationally known as a paradise for white-collar crime, where a third of ASX 200 companies pay less than 10% 10% tax, and 57% operate in subsidiary tax havens, costing the budget $8 billion a year, let alone their unbridled access to federally funded research grants, tax credits and subsidies, with the pharmaceutical industry alone receiving almost as much as the unemployment benefit system does altogether, raking in $5 billion a year, and the mining industry 10, along with the top 10% of earners in this country receiving 80% of the $170 billion in tax cuts, which the Howard government introduced that made his ministry, according to the IMF, and we're not talking about the Intrepid Museum Foundation, the International Monetary Fund, the most profligate government in Australian history.
What? I'll eat off the taxpayer for a fraction of that price. At least I'm a cost-effective sponge. Why buy a brand name when you can buy generic?
After all, he's certainly giving Joe Hockey no frills, who in this lineup, which includes the likes of Andrew Twiggy, who in the last decade was stripping this country bare of its own natural resources for huge personal profit and literally zero public benefit, while another overly generous contributor to the Australian Treasury, James Hardie CEO Lewis Grease, was busy figuring out how to better Australian society by avoiding compensation payments to former employees his company knew they were exposing to a lethal substance, almost half a century in advance, that causes one of the slowest and most painful deaths there is.
No, in that blink of an eye time frame that saw refrigeration go from ice boxes to two-door fridges to tell you how many beers they have left in it, we didn't have time to relay the message that asbestos causes mesothelioma. We had to restock the fridge with beers.
Obviously, the person who deserves your complete and utter disdain for leeching off the taxpayer is Ilya from Logan, who in that same decade of intergenerational robbery and unfathomable evil in the pursuit of profit, which you paid for as the government had to pick up the slack for compensation payouts, Ilya from Logan was doing literally nothing.
That's why Ilya doesn't deserve a single penny, because he didn't go out there and make something of himself.
It's for this reason, giants, comprising of weak and defenseless materials like glass and steel, need the government's support in creating the sort of stability and certainty that breeds confidence, as confidence breeds prosperity.
Makes sense, yeah.
As does the government's strategy for breeding confidence in those made of the most indestructible substance there is, flesh, where they feel it necessary to replace stability with an earthquake, making the lives of the unemployed so shaky and uncertain they're considering renaming the Department of Human Services Forbidden Bridge, the department where receiving New Start is
forbidden.
Let's go back! No! Let's get the jewels!
Forbidden.
The game's Forbidden Bridge. Dare to cross Forbidden Bridge. But if the angry idol shakes it, you can fall to your doom. First to grab the idol's jewels and get to safety wins. But beware, Forbidden Bridge is
Forbidden. 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 Forbidden.
I win!
Forbidden Bridge. It's forbidden!
Please press the subscribe button now. Come on.